Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today we're going to be taking to the skies, cooperating and delivering the necessary goods to different needy places around the world in pandemic rapid response. In this game, all the players are part of a team that is aboard a state-of-the-art plane. That plane is able to manufacture goods that are needed around the world. Things like medicine and food and clean water. You are going to be flying around the world, visiting locations that need specific resources and dropping off those resources. The twist here is, the big thing, it's that it's a real-time game. You are going to be playing against the clock in the game, and while you are taking turns around the table, you always have to keep that in mind. Take too long on your turn trying to optimize a dice roll, and you are costing someone else part of their turn. So that's the general idea here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at how the game works. I'll come on back after that, and I'm going to tell you what I think of it. Here's what the game looks like mostly set up. Every player has a roll. They're going to have a set of dice. They'll put their pawn in whatever room it says on their roll card that they begin. Here we've got the two other sets of dice with their respective pawns, but I'm going to set them aside for now because I'm going to be showing you just a two-player game, or a simulation of a two-player game. We've got the resources in the different rooms where they go. Sand timer over here, 3 time tokens, and then the recycle room over here has this token at the beginning of that track. To finish setting up, we're going to shuffle up the deck of cities. We're going to reveal one, and that's where we put the plane. So the plane goes in London, and we put that right there on this track that goes around the outside of the board. This one is discarded. Then we reveal 2 more from this deck. We've got Riyadh here, and we're going to put it where it goes, which is right there. So let's move these out of the way, right there. I'll move that as well. And then one more, and this one is Karachi. Look at that. That's pretty lucky. They're next to each other. Then we take 3 more, we put them over here in this pile, and the rest of the cards can go away. Now you are ready to play. So here's what the players are attempting to do. What you're trying to do is deliver to these different cities around the world precisely what they need. And this plane is a very special plane which can manufacture these things. We are able to manufacture food and energy and medicine, water, clean water, and first aid kits, or just medical help. So those are the different rooms. We've also got, as I said, the recycling room here. There's the loading door out here in the back where we're going to be able to deploy things to these cities. And in the front here, the section that tracks our upcoming cities and the time we've got to do this in. This game is a real-time game. You are going to be playing through as much sand as there is in the sand timer. You're going to be flipping this. And when that runs out, you take a momentary pause to add a new city to the board. You'll flip over the top one, and then we remove a time marker here, and we flip it again and continue going from wherever we stopped, all right? So the players on their turns are going to be taking actions as quickly as they can. So for example, we've got over here this character, the engineer. They've got their 6 dice, and these dice have different, of course, faces on all of the sides. All of them are identical, though, and you've got each face showing one of these 5 rooms, and then one that shows the plane there. So, as soon as you're ready to begin, you're going to flip this over, and you roll your dice. Once you've rolled your dice, you can use any of them that you want to. So for example, I could use the plane symbol, put that on my card, and I can move the plane. So I'm going to go ahead and move it from London to Paris, getting a little bit closer to where we want to be. The other ones are going to be used in these different rooms to produce the resources we need. So I'm standing here right now, and I'm hoping to get to Riyadh. We're going to need 1 energy. However, I did not roll any energy. So the other thing we need is medicine. I did roll 2 of those, so maybe I want to do that. The other option I have with the dice is I can spend any face, any 1 die to move. So I could go from here to this room, and I could spend this one to move into this room. And now I'm going to go ahead and use these 2 medicine symbols to start manufacturing these first aid kits. Every location, every room has a little track that tells you how you manufacture these things, how many dice you need to manufacture them. So for example, let's take a look at the food one up here. As you can see, I need one group that has a single die with food, like this, to satisfy the first step. And then the next group has 2 dice to satisfy that step. And so for example, let's say I did that, put 2 dice there. Once that's done, you'll see 1 single cube there. And then there's another group of 2 steps with 3 cubes after that. Notice after the very first step, there are no cubes. So once this is filled like that, then a player in that room may trigger the effect of the room. You're going to remove the dice. You are going to manufacture whatever it says, in this case, 1 food. You're going to put it back here where there are spaces for your completed resources, and there is a limited space for them. And then you are going to roll these dice and see if there's any waste generated. You're going to roll them, and you're going to just check which ones rolled a circular symbol. So in this case, we've got that energy symbol, we've got that medicine symbol, and the water, which is a droplet in a circle. So that's 1. We've generated 1 waste. And I kick this up here by 1 step. These dice are then done, and they would just go to a player's card. All right? And that's pretty much how all of these rooms operate. They all work the same way, except their tracks are a little bit different depending on the thing being produced. All right? Now, let's say at some point, and this will, of course, happen, timer runs out. And so you catch that, you say, okay, hold on, stop. We are going to remove a time marker, and we are going to reveal a new card from the city deck, Lagos. We're going to put that over here next to Lagos. And then we flip this over and continue going. As you can see, you only begin with 3 of these, so you're going to be out of time very, very quickly. However, there is one way in which you can get those time markers back, and that is by delivering to these cities. So let's say in our example, I've already produced 3 of these, and I've already produced the 1 energy we're going to need. All right? And there might be other things in there by now. Maybe we ended up producing 2 energy. That's okay. On your turn, you are going to, if you hopefully can, roll your dice. You're going to move around the ship. So this player might go 1, 2, 3, 4 back here, spending 4 dice to move. And then you can use a plane symbol right there to deploy cargo. As long as you are over the required city, you can take the tokens, put them back where they go, and you have satisfied the needs of Riyadh. When you do that, you'll discard this card from play, and you are going to give yourself 1 more time marker. And there's some more of these over here in case you need them. All right? So that's how you get some back. So as you can see, I've talked about every room on the plane except for this recycling room. The way that works is this tracker is going to move up and up as you're producing resources. Any waste will spill over to here. And then at some point, you need to make sure that you are bringing this back down. In this game, you lose one of 2 ways. You have no tokens left when the timer runs out. So even when you remove the last one, you've still got 1 cent timers full of time to complete the game, okay? So again, it's only when it's done and there are no timers left. And then the other way you lose is by getting all the way up past 10 in this waste room. That means you haven't been taking care of it. Your plane is no longer efficient. For you to lower this track, you need to be in that room, of course, just like everything else. And you are going to place here any dice you want as long as they are different. So for example, I might do that. Let's say all my dice were repeats of these. So I roll again. That's no good. And then I roll 1 more time and I get water. And now I go ahead and trigger that room, which at this level is -1, -2, and -4 all the way up here. So I'm triggering it at -2. I lower this by 2. I don't roll for waste on these, of course, because that's very much what I'm attempting to do is get rid of waste. And then the dice are spent. So I've already shown you here the flight planner who moves farther with their dice that show the plane. And then this engineer also has a special power that is that they can turn their dice that show the plane to any side. So those are wild for you. If you are having a hard time getting some symbol, if you roll a plane, you're good to go with that one also. The final thing included in the box is these cards over here, which are a variant, a challenge if you would, that you may choose to use in order to make the game more interesting but also more difficult. So let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of the game. I am a huge, huge fan of Pandemic and many of its iterations, but this game doesn't really feel like pretty much any of those games. This is really a different beast with a pandemic theme, and that theme is good. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a good fit, but I think liking one does not necessarily translate into liking the others, and vice versa, right? Because it's so different from those kinds of games. Having said that, I did enjoy this. I am not a big fan of real-time games. It's one of the genres I tend to shy away from, but in this one, there are a few things at play here that make it a little bit better for me, a little bit more palatable. I'll get to those things as I'm talking through what I think of the game. I have one main issue, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, the only thing that's not really getting a positive from me. So, I'm going to start with the theme. The theme, I think, is awesome. It's a good fit. It's a cool setting. I like that it's a different, the action is set in a different location. Kind of makes me think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you've ever seen that TV show, where most of the action takes place on this, really cool state-of-the-art plane. Here, you're dealing with the same things. And you've got this frenetic action about, producing the things that are needed, cleaning up after yourselves, all the waste, keeping the plane running smoothly while you're traveling around the world. It's a really cool setting. Aesthetics. Everything is really clean and simple. The graphic design on everything is just straightforward. There's not a lot of embellishment here. And that's what you need for a real-time game. You don't want people getting hung up on iconography. You don't want to trip people up trying to figure out, is there a door between these two rooms? That's the sort of thing you want to avoid. Thankfully, this one does do that. It's a very, just basic layout. Everything is clean. Everything, you know how it all operates. You might want to play one sort of practice run before you play the first time. But after that, you are good to go. There's only one small thing that I found to be a little problematic, and that is remembering how many times you've re-rolled. You have to get into the habit of maybe saying it out loud. First re-roll, do whatever. Second re-roll, so that you know you're done. Especially with that character that gives you 2 extra re-rolls, you got to keep that straight, or you will forget. And since you can't stop and figure it out because of the time, you don't want to make that mistake. But it's a good look all around. Components are very nice as well. Those dice are spectacular. They are engraved. They look great. They got that marbled look. Just fantastic components. Replayability. I think there's a good amount of variability in this game. You have all the rolls. You've also got the order in which the places come up. The different locations around the world. And then if you want to double down on that, of course, you've got those variant cards to make the game different but also harder, like I said. Game length. It's lightning fast. It's extremely quick. The box here lists 20 minutes. It might be shorter than that even. It kind of reminds me of Escape, if you've ever played that game, where everyone's rolling dice frantically, trying to go into a tomb or a cavern, find something, and leave again. In this one, the main difference being that you are taking turns around the table. So when it's your turn to go, you need to be ready to go. But it reminds me of that a little bit. Very short, punchy game length. The ease of play is also very high. Like I said, symbology is real clean and straightforward. You don't have to worry about, am I supposed to be rolling? I can watch the turns go, and when you're done, I'm ready to go. The only thing here that I think is an issue is that this is a massive trap for alpha players. I don't think that's a game problem. I think that's a player problem, and I've always said so. But if you have people that are not great about stopping their alpha player tendencies, this is going to flare that up seriously and ridiculously. So just be aware of it. Again, Not something I fault any game for. That is a player's compulsion. It's on them. But be aware of it. Lastly, and again, the only thing I have a little bit of an issue with is the tactics in the game, the strategy in the game. I think it's somewhere down the middle of the road. And the reason is because what you are attempting to do in this game is extremely simple and obvious. You know what you should do pretty much at any given moment. I need to go there, and I need to produce this thing. I need to make my way to the back of the ship and recycle, or we're going to die. But, of course, the time pressure is what makes you make mistakes. It's what makes you not have the time to puzzle things out. And, again, it emphasizes that this is a real-time game. That's where it lives and dies, is based on that. So I found the tactics to be pretty straightforward. There wasn't anything revolutionary on that front. At no moment did I catch myself going, aha, I could do that, which is the obvious play. But if I do this instead, you're going to get a hint of that with some of the special rolls in the game. And if you roll a bunch of dice and what you wanted did not come up, instead you got a big flop of something else that needs to be done, yeah, sure, you adapt your tactics on the fly. But it's all about the timer. The timer is what makes the game feel very tactical, because you have to prioritize things or you'll run out of time. So that's basically it. Overall, I did enjoy the game. Again, I'm not a big fan of real-time strategy games, but I think this one manages to do a few things that I found take that concept and make it more palatable for me. Player turns, that helps. A real clean set of rules, that helps. A very thematic concept. I know what's happening, and I know why I'm doing it. I produce things. They go to the cargo hold. They generate waste as the machines run. I need to push it out of the back of the cargo to deploy it onto this city. That city's done. That earns me more time. Those things are all very logical. And if you let the game's inner workings and logic work on you, you're going to have a very easy time learning this one. So there you go. This is one that, as I said, does not necessarily appeal to players who enjoy Pandemic, because that's just the theme, but I think there's going to be a serious overlap there, and it's possible that it'll even appeal to folks that don't enjoy Pandemic, because they do enjoy the time pressure. They like quick turns, this cooperation, this kind of, nail-biting tension that is not driven by the suspense of something that might explode on the board. It's driven by literal time pressure. So this is going to get a seal of approval from me. I enjoy it. I would recommend that it's one that's going to come out for me at very different times than something like the original Pandemic or one of the spin-offs might come out. But it has its place. And it's probably, honestly, my favorite real-time game. But that's not saying much coming necessarily from me. I'm not a huge fan of those. But I'm telling you, if you enjoy that kind of game, if you like Escape, if you like those, everyone chuck dice quickly kind of games, this is going to be up your alley. You're really going to enjoy this one. So, again, seal of approval for Pandemic Rapid Response. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.